Did I ever tell you I worked in the nonprofit world? Just about a year. I hated it. Don't worry, I hated it. But I worked in that nonprofit world for a year, and it was eye-opening to me how truly crooked and bent the nonprofit, the charity world is. Which is why my eyes perked up this morning when I saw this great piece of actual journalism from Parker Thayer, investigative researcher for Capital Research, about, of course, a nonpartisan charity out there, just, doing the Lord's work. But instead, it's a massive get out the vote effort for Democrats. Do keep in mind that donations to nonprofits and charities are tax deductible. There's a lot of crookedness that goes on. Anyway, it's not my story, it's Parker's story. Parker, it's your story, not mine. You did the work on it. What's going on?
You would not believe the stuff that's going on behind the scenes of these nonprofits. There are some good nonprofits like the Capital Research Center, but at the Capital Research Center, we did some investigative work. It took us about 2 years of work, but we did find evidence dating back to 2016 that there were emails being bounced around in John Podesta's email inbox about a thing called the Everybody Votes campaign. It was developed by cutthroat Democratic consultants, and the intention, it seems at the time, was to guarantee Hillary a 2020 re-election victory. Keep in mind that John Podesta was Hillary Clinton's campaign chairman. Now, the idea was to use nonprofits, which are tax exempt. Donors can claim a tax exemption for the contributions they make to nonprofits. It was to use these nonprofits to conduct voter registration activities, a massive voter registration campaign, because they cared so much about the civic participation and civic engagement of minority community. Now, they cared about this so intensely that they were only going to register these people to vote in 8 swing states. It tells you a lot about their intentions. The plan was to register millions of people and produce millions of votes, because they found that just by registering people to vote, it made them much more likely to vote for their preferred candidate. Even more likely than being contacted by a campaign or campaign donations. They blasted this memo out, and eventually it got around to, who would you know? Sam Bankman-Fried's mom, who runs a PAC called Mind the Gap. It sounds hard to believe, but this is all completely true, and we have documentation for all of this. Sam Bankman-Fried's mom's PAC sent out emails to all of their Silicon Valley billionaire donors and told them, don't waste your time giving money to these candidates and these PACs and these campaigns. Instead, give it to these nonprofits, which are supposed to be nonpartisan, remember. They said that these nonprofits were 4 to 10 times more cost-effective at netting additional Democratic votes when compared to campaigns and PACs. That is a direct quote from the leaked memo that they shared around to their donors. They also told their donors, hey, don't tell people about this. Keep it secret from the Republicans, because if the Republicans find out about this, they're going to go to the media and tell people about these corrupt activities that we're engaging in. Now, this Everybody Votes campaign registered 5.1 million people across 8 states after spending $120 million in 5 years. Most of the money came from billionaires that you know, like Warren Buffett, George Soros, but some that you don't, like Hans-Jörg Wyss, a Swiss billionaire and a non-citizen who spends tens of millions of dollars every year through dark money organizations and his own charitable foundation to influence U.S. politics in all sorts of ways that you can't even imagine. It's a remarkable story. I think it took 36 pages to write it down, but I highly recommend everyone should read it.
I highly recommend everybody read it. Go read Parker's story, Capital Research. Go read the story. Okay, Parker, I have a couple things I want to ask here as follow-ups, so just bear with me. This Swiss guy, I am fairly involved in politics, as you well know. I've never heard of this friggin' guy. Who is this guy? What's his problem?
Hans-Jörg Wyss. Hard to pronounce name, Hans-Jörg Wyss. He was the CEO of a biotech company that got in trouble for running illegal experiments on people. Several of their board members went to jail over it. But Hans-Jörg did not. He was close friends with the Clintons and has been close friends with the Clintons for a very long time. In 2009, he was caught making illegal campaign contributions despite not being a citizen, not holding a green card at all. He is a Swiss foreign national, but was making campaign contributions through the FEC website. You can look up his name on the FEC website and find the contributions still to this day. He has a wild history of being involved in American politics in ways that he really shouldn't be. But his foundation was actually the one that gave Podesta this idea in the first place. The email shows his foundation president emailing Podesta and saying, hey, this is a great idea. This would allow our foundation to get involved in American politics, even though our primary donor is completely barred from it.
Okay, Parker, so I just want to break this down for idiots like me to make sure we understand this. Okay, so you have this Swiss commie piece of trash, and you have George Soros, and you have Sam Bankman-Fried's mother, and you have John Podesta. They come together to form a, quote, charity that's actually just a register New Democrats to vote thing, and over the course of 5 years, they sink $120 million into it and get 5 million New Democrats voting. Do I have that about right?
5 million registrations that produced about our estimates are 1.5 to 2 million votes for Democrats, which is 1 to 3% of the total national turnout for Joe Biden.
And just to be clear, Sam Bankman-Fried, that would be the same Sam Bankman-Fried who just had all his charges dropped, correct?
Of course, the one that had $100 million of straw man contributions, and they're not going to charge him over that. They're just going to use them for evidence in other charges. Of course, those might also.
Oh, okay.
I would be utterly shocked.
Now you understand. Now everyone understands what I mean when I call it the system. Okay, Parker, now all this obviously is bad, and it sounds awful, but there are many things that are bad that aren't illegal, like ricotta cheese. That's bad, but it's not illegal. Was something illegal done here?
It's one of those things where it's extremely on the line. The IRS and FEC, for that matter, have completely turned a blind eye to this stuff for decades. If you'll remember, Obama's first job was a community organizer at Project Vote. Stacey Abrams, she also ran a nonprofit that actually got money from this organization, the New Georgia Project. She entered the political scene as one of these community organizers and nonpartisan voter registrators. Whether or not the law was actually broken, I'm no lawyer. I couldn't tell you for sure. They are as far over the line as I think you could possibly be without the IRS doing anything, as they've continued to not do anything about this for years. Something needs to change.
Are we doing anything like this that you know of? Why are we doing this stuff?
I think there's one guy on the entire conservative side that's doing anything like this, Scott Pressler, who you've probably heard of before. I think he's the only one, and he's doing it through a PAC. I don't think even back in his heyday, Karl Rove, who is one of most famous conservative political operators of all time, I don't think even he would have considered doing this stuff with a nonprofit, because the IRS would have jumped all over it, because the IRS would never be biased. That Lois Lerner didn't exist.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we love Scott Pressler on the show. I personally am a donor to that PAC. We love what Scott does. Parker, love what you do. That's outstanding work, brother. Come back soon.
Thank you so much, Jesse.
I have great news. If you enjoyed that, I have a YouTube channel you can subscribe to. Whatever I do, it'll be right there on YouTube. So go subscribe today.